Hello and welcome to another episode of WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Michael Austin, the supervising reporter at the Western Journal. Today, I'm joined by Tara Snyder, our assignment editor extraordinaire, and Bridget McBennett, our brand new editorial assistant. We are looking forward to working with Bridget more because we have needed someone to fill that role for quite some time.
Yes, thank you.
And the three of us have got some crazy stories for you guys today. As one would expect, the left is always doing crazy things, so we can always have good stories covering those things. We'll be talking about Nancy Pelosi and the hypocrisy of the January 6th Commission. We'll be talking about some exciting news from Donald Trump Jr. And his new fiancée. A little hint towards what that news is. But first, we're going to be talking about Chicago teachers unions and how they're harming school children down there in the Illinois city. So, Bridget.
Yes, thank you, Michael. So the Teachers Union of Chicago took to a vote on Tuesday, resulting in the decision that schools are to be closed and put back on remote learning, and that'll start immediately Wednesday. So that was hours that they took a vote, made a decision, and then was like, yep, we're going to be online again. And let's note that parents and students were sent this note of now being online learning at 11 p.m. on Tuesday.
So a lot of them just woke up in the morning and they're like, oh, I guess I don't have school.
Yeah, imagine the paranoia that sets in with parents who have to go to work and they don't have the means of finding someone to take care of their child. And so anyways, so it was said that out of 350,000 Chicago students, with lack of a better term, had to fend for themselves come Wednesday morning. I mean, students were instructed not to come to school. But funny, there was not a system set in place Wednesday morning for online learning.
And if the parents needed to go off to work in the middle of the morning and the kids were left at home, are they expecting the kids to get on their emails and set up web chats?
I don't know what they were thinking going this fast. And so this need to panic and urgency with the meeting, I came from Monday knowing that about 400 students and staff tested positive for COVID. So it came pretty quickly, but Monday was their first day back from break. So Monday came back, Tuesday, paranoia, Wednesday, no coming back. It was just so fast. And then there was also in Chicago, there's been a false narrative, you could say, going around that children specifically are being hospitalized in Chicago due to COVID. And the public health commissioner took it upon herself to shut that down really quickly. Dr. Allison Ardwadi, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but she held a news conference on Tuesday explaining just that, including that in reality, across all of the Chicago city, out of 550,000 children, they're averaging about 7 COVID hospitalizations a day right now from children aged 0 to 17. That's the complete opposite scale that the public is talking about. And then you also have, one last note, you have the Chicago Public Schools CEO, Pedro Martinez, suggesting to bring, he's for students being, it seems as though he's for students being in school and learning in person, but he's trying to accommodate. It seems as though, from my opinion, he's trying to accommodate. So he came to suggesting we can bring back temperature checks for the schools and bring back health screeners, or even adding to the possibility, and I'm quoting him, that a school would move to a virtual instruction if at least 40% of its classroom teachers are absent for 2 consecutive days. So you see, they're trying to work with the union. He gave that to the union, and the union shut it down. No, we're gonna be online.
We're not gonna negotiate.
I would just be curious to know too, how many teachers actually wanted to go online, because I can definitely see it being 4 or 5 people who just think they're over self-important and going, you know what, we're gonna be brave, we're gonna do this decision and keep everyone home. Because I genuinely don't think that many teachers at this point, after 2 years of living with COVID, were like, you know what, we all need to go home with absolutely no plans in place, without any lessons plans, without anything.
And we should all keep in mind that there are a lot of teachers that aren't represented by these teacher unions. When we talk about the wrongs that have been done by teacher unions, the way they've kind of destroyed children's education across the states, that doesn't mean all teachers have. That doesn't mean all teachers are bad.
Yeah. And I think it's important to also consider that the COVID variant has changed. And so it's not as strong as it once was.
Yeah.
It was Dr. Allison during her news conference. She noted that if your child is vaccinated, then this new variant is coming across like a normal flu, and you shouldn't be shutting down schools because your child has the flu.
I believe, from what I remember, if you're vaccinated, so the new variant's Omicron.
Yes.
And every scientist that studied it has said this is the best thing that could have happened to us. There was one article that said it's a Christmas gift this year.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's a less lethal, less severe version of coronavirus. So basically, it's spreading around. It's giving people immunity to COVID, but it's not killing even close to as many people as COVID did. So the fact that they're shutting down over that's what they're going to send everyone home over when, it's probably, if all the teachers are vaccinated, if a lot of the kids or most of the kids are vaccinated, it's probably not more dangerous. The flu would probably be more dangerous than Omicron.
Well, I think it just is like a byproduct of showing how crazy COVID-19 and vaccines and everything has gotten. Because again, if we go back, let's go back just a year ago when vaccines first started coming out, people were being like, oh my gosh, there's going to be vaccine passports, are going to be all these things. And people are like, no, you're crazy. That'll never happen. And now we're at the point now where fully vaccinated doesn't even count as if you have 2 shots. It's going to be booster. And I know, Michael, you and I and Joey were in the office today talking about how we see the COVID shots kind of becoming habitual, like the flu shots. And I wouldn't put it past them to eventually see this where it's an every year thing. And at that point, it's like you've already given them the power to do this.
Right.
So how are you going to stop them? Because I was looking at concert tickets going back home to my family in Minnesota, and they were saying you need to be double vaxxed with boosters. And if you're there, you have to wear a mask and you can't eat or drink. So it's like, when are we going to go back to participate in society?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think there is a silver lining here. And that would basically be that, the more teachers unions keep doing this, the more parents that are going to vote Republican and vote against Democrats. Because, this is essentially the reason that public teachers unions have so much, or teachers unions in general have so much power, is because there's no school choice, is because all of these kids, they have to go to these public schools. They don't have another option if they're not wealthy enough. And so the teachers can kind of do whatever they want, and the kids are kind of trapped in that system. Here in Arizona, Governor Ducey just announced a few days ago that if a school shuts down for one day, you can take, and your child's going to that school, you can take your child to another school along with $7,000 to help pay for educational fees.
Yeah.
So private schools, whatever. So this is why we need school choice. This is why we need competition. If some schools are going to close down, people they have a right to have an option where a school isn't closing down. They have a right to go to that school if they want to. And we should be funding students, not funding systems.
It's so funny. It's so funny how the party of being pro-choice is only pro-choice when it comes to abortion, but they're not pro-choice in school choice or with your medical decisions.
Right. Yeah.
But I just thought that was so interesting. And really for me, it just set in with how this COVID-19 has turned into a sense of just paranoia.
Yeah.
People are freaking out over the smallest, what seems to be the smallest case.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that this far in, we're at the beginning of 2022, that they would be doing shutdowns like this.
Oh,
Still 2 years in.
Still doing shutdowns like this.
It's so funny because when I went back home, I was working with some older coworkers of mine, and as we were talking, I remember I was the only one at work that back then when I said, "Oh no, it'll still be going on a year from now," and they all were like, "Oh no, you're crazy. It's going to be gone by May 2021," and it's like, oh my gosh, looks like my natural pessimism has come true and come to fruition.
But also, if like I was saying earlier, just look back to 2020. Democrats took control of so much of the government, and we were all like, "Oh no, this is the end of everything. This is going to be so bad." But they've just screwed up and screwed up and screwed up, and the more they keep doing things like this, 2022, this year is not going to be a good year for them. I have a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, they're just going to keep going further and further and further until they just end up U-turning into just screwing themselves over. So I think we're going to end up better in 2022. But
one could hope.
Yes, one could hope. And then someone that is having a very nice year in 2022 would be Donald Trump Jr. Tell us all about that.
Yeah. So Donald Trump Jr. recently was found out that he and Kimberly Guilfoyle were secretly engaged not this past New Year, but last New Year.
For a year.
And they just kind of kept it under wraps. And we do have a story. It's at the Western Journal. And it was kind of an open secret if you were in their circle, but I don't think any of us really even knew that they were engaged.
No.
And they basically were saying, oh yeah, we just wanted to focus on our kids and focus on anything, our families. And I do think it's really interesting just putting in the context of everything that was going on. And I have my own personal opinions as to why they may have kept things under wraps. For example, Trump had just lost the presidential election. There was all of this stuff going on with voter fraud and things like that. Then you had the January 6th riots. And so it was just like they got engaged, and then basically all hell broke loose January 6th. And so I guess they probably were like, probably not the time to announce that. So I think there were a few things here at play. And I also think that with Kimberly's past experiences at Fox and things like that, that they probably knew they were going to get slammed. So, but that's my personal take. So what do you guys think, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think your analysis is pretty good. I think they got engaged on New Year's last year, and they were like, okay, 2020 is over. This is going to be a great year. This is the perfect time to do this. And then, January 6th, then, all this other stuff happens. 2021 was probably better than 2020, but, not if you're living in a blue state.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah, and so, they kept it on hold. Yeah, it's a fun story.
Yeah.
So,
Bridget, what do you think? Do you think that there was anything that played in with Kimberly's past stuff at Fox News and the quote unquote controversy there? Do you think it mostly was just January 6th and Donald Trump with the 2020 election?
I'm sure her past with Fox News did have some leeway in this, but I think they read the room of the nation and the world pretty well. And, maybe they're out in the limelight. Maybe they just didn't want opinions right away, whether January 6th happened or not. A public opinions could, I would imagine, take a toll on somebody after so many times. Maybe they just wanted time by themselves.
I mean, I might just be totally behind on my Kimberly Guilfoyle scuttlebutt, but what is the whole past situation at Fox News?
Oh, well, she just was contributing there for so many years. And I think that CNN and some of the other more liberal sites have been oh my gosh, we can't believe a journalist is dating one of the Trump sons. Wow, the world's ending. So that's what I'm talking about here, because that would make sense for them to be oh, we were right, it's collusion, blah, blah, blah.
If a CNN anchor got engaged to a Democrat politician, they would be treated like
royalty.
Royalty.
It'd be the best thing.
The Kennedys 2.0.
The most amazing thing that ever could have happened.
Oh, yeah. It would be the new American wedding. It would be the royal wedding of America. Oh, man. But so this kind of brings me back to this idea of secret engagements and things now. And I think this goes to the broader issue of social media, because we've just seen time and time again, every study that's ever come out is talking about how bad social media truly is for all of us. And so I wonder for you both, are we at a time now where people have really started to kind of see the detriments of social media and are just keeping certain things private? Do you think that this will kind of expand to other people in the public eye, or do you think that even everyday citizens are just going to be you know what, maybe I'm not going to post this on Facebook right now?
I do believe that. I think people are really grasping the idea that social media isn't all what it seems to be. You also have social media where it is all it seems to be, and it's the best thing. There's positive accounts and this and that, but I've had personal experiences with not my family specifically, but friends of family and so on, where they just get attacked by who they thought was a friend because of what they're posting on social media. And it's those small things where I feel enough is enough. And it's is it worth posting this? But that's average people, you, me and you and everyone else, not Donald Trump Jr., or any other public figure who does this for a job and a living. Yeah. I feel there's a barrier with that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, people are always talking about how bad social media is nowadays. That's one of the most popular things to talk about. Sometimes we overlook all the good that it's done in connecting everyone. But the negatives have been awful, and I think everyone's aware of that. The question is whether people will actually stop using it. Yeah. Because I think people know it's a problem, but then they keep doing it.
Yeah.
They're
I find
drug
it really
addicts that
hard
keep going back.
to stop using social media.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I started working for a conservative organization, and I started posting some of my work on Facebook and Instagram. That got me to use those platforms a lot less real quick.
I bet.
But yeah, I mean, I can say for sure my life has been considerably better since I stepped that back, and now I just do Twitter for fun because
it's fun to mess with.
Fun to mess
It also
with.
just depends who you're following, because I follow a lot of like mental health, like self-help accounts that truly are amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think if you see yourself going down a toxic spiral, go to your following, see who you are, because your social media is what you make it to be. You can control who you follow, who you see by a simple block button, you know?
And it's one thing too to be like looking at, like who am I following? But I think the broader point that I'm trying to make is just when you're in the public eye, like knowing when you want to keep certain things private, you know,
totally.
and that kind of thing. So it's just an interesting conversation, and it makes me really wonder how they kept it so hidden for so long.
No, it's unbelievable that they kept it a secret for
it's unbelievable.
over a year.
It's unbelievable. I mean, CNN has clearly been starved for content for like the last year. Like, I'm pretty sure if they found out that Don Jr. was engaged, they would have been like, "Oh my gosh!
Oh, look at this journalist,
this
selling
journalist."
herself." Yeah,
So,
those headlines would have been everywhere.
But then also to like, an engagement is such like a beautiful thing, and to take that and spin it so it's like this nasty, like down thing. It's just like, I don't know how anyone could really do that.
Yeah, well, I think that's nice that they delayed that from happening for a year.
Yeah, it was probably better timing.
And, speaking of things that happened 1 year ago, almost to the day, tomorrow is going to be the anniversary of the greatest assault on our nation in American history.
Oh, wow.
Just kidding. It's actually just about the Capitol incursion.
I thought it was 9/11.
No,
So,
it's not 9/11. Despite the fact that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in Congress have created a 9/11 style January 6th commission. I mean, the only other comparable commission that they've made is the 9/11 commission. So they're trying to harken back to that with that. And so, the January 6th commission's going on right now. And tomorrow they're probably going to have some hearings. They're probably, expect Democrats to commemorate January 6th tomorrow in some pretty ridiculous ways.
Oh, I can't wait.
They're gonna be on TV. They're gonna be crying. They're gonna be weeping for all the lost lives, even though the 4 people that died were all Trump supporters. And then one of them was shot by a Capitol police officer. But, whatever. The 3 others were killed accidentally, but whatever. Or of a drug overdose. But they're going to be talking about it ad nauseum. They're going to be saying it was a terrorist attack. They're going to be saying that it was an insurrection, even though oddly, 600 people have been arrested from January 6th. None have been charged with insurrection, which is illegal. It is a criminal act.
Yeah.
Just kind of odd that charge has not been.
I just think it's kind of funny because when you think of an insurrection, you probably think of something more professional than people with like red, white, and blue face paint on with like mega like flags tied on their backs. Like, I just think it's ridiculous too at a certain point to think that this like crowd of people who is obviously really riled up had enough power to take over the entire Capitol.
Well, and and you're going to say something, Bridget.
I was just going to add on, you would think there shouldn't be any type of power to take over our Capitol.
Well, and it's good that you guys bring that up because, that does show that, there would be some fruit in investigating what happened on January 6th.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a totally partisan hack job headed up by Pelosi and some hand-picked never-Trumpers and a bunch of Democrats, if this was a legitimate investigation, there would be some serious things to look into, like how this could have happened. We have video of Capitol police officers inviting in like 30% of the people that invaded the Capitol that day, just waving them in the side doors. So Republicans are like, hey, let's actually find out what happened on the side of the Capitol Police.
Yeah.
Hey, Pelosi, how about, you were talking to the head of the Sergeant at Arms at the Capitol. You were coordinating with him. They were getting ready to, protect the Capitol on January 6th. What happened? How about you let us know the records? You let us know everything. And Pelosi has outright refused, despite demanding transparency with this January 6th commission.
It's so ridiculous because it just shows that they're so focused on the narrative and not the actual truth, because if they actually cared about the truth, then they would be releasing that. And it goes to this thing too. We talk about like voter fraud, we talk about election stuff, and it's the same thing with the Democrats. Is the Democrats don't actually care about getting down to the nitty-gritty. They don't actually care about investigating random election claims or putting out ID for voting. They don't care about bringing the truth about the Capitol riots either, because it would expose something. It would expose that, hey, we were not prepared when January 6th came, and we were probably not prepared during a lot of these other government-run things, because the government pretty much sucks at running things.
Yeah. I would just think that like the protection of like the United States and like where you live in and where you're from and your home shouldn't, I don't think it should be Republican Democrat. It should be like a unanimous, like, we're protecting ourselves. Like it shouldn't, but the whole Nancy Pelosi thing, it's comical in my eyes. It's like, I don't get how any of this can get past anybody.
Do you know if someone takes over Pelosi's job, if they can release the records she's hiding, or if it's like a one and done? Like
no, I mean, it'd be her. It'd be, they need to get the actual Capitol Police. There's a board that oversees the Capitol Police. They need to get them to open it up. But, she was there. So the House Speaker isn't necessarily in charge of the Capitol Police, but she was coordinating with them leading up to January 6th. So they're asking her, like, what were you guys talking about? What was planned? What kind of, it has been shown, despite a bunch of fact checks saying the contrary, that Donald Trump tried to get a lot more National Guard troops there to defend the Capitol, and that request got outright refused or just ignored by the General Miller, I think his SecDef. But and another part of this story, so Illinois Republican Representative Rodney Davis, he sent out a letter basically saying, Pelosi is full of it. She's a total hypocrite. And what he pointed out is that, while Steve Bannon, Pelosi subpoenaed Steve Bannon to come testify about January 6th, he refused, and now he has been indicted by a federal grand jury on a contempt charge for not, and there are some serious questions there about like privilege and like, oh, maybe he does have a legal privilege to not say some of the things that you want him to say. But at the same time that they're just hounding him for that, Pelosi is refusing to say anything. She's refusing to be transparent. And so just the hypocrisy there is almost hilarious. And our own, let me get our own Joe Saunders, who wrote the story on this, I think he had a great line he wrote about this, basically saying, essentially, Pelosi's committee of Democrats and Never Trump Republicans is following the playbook of modern Democratic Party and the progressive movement in general. Establish rules for opponents to follow, then feel free to disregard them whenever it's politically or personally inconvenient.
Yeah.
So you guys got to be transparent. But when it comes to January 6th, I don't have to say anything.
I think it's just depressing, because it's like we can go back and forth and talk about, oh, it's so ridiculous, which it is, it's super ridiculous. But I think at the end of the day, it just shows like how far America has kind of fallen with what we can expect from our government officials, because at least from, of course, I wasn't around, I'm just making my own educated guess. It's like, at least from when I was growing up, like, I remember always hearing about like, oh, this politician did something and everyone in America thought it was morally bad.
Yeah.
And everyone agreed that this was horrible. Yeah. But now it's like, whatever, tomato, it doesn't really matter, really, does it? Like, I still was able to go to work this morning. Like, no one seems to care about these moral issues.
No.
Yeah. Everyone, I feel like, is on the fence of just like fending for themselves, because the past couple of years, that's what we've kind of been trained to do with what's been given to us by our government. And so it doesn't surprise me, but it really does.
Yeah.
It does surprise me, actually.
And what her lack of transparency and hypocrisy basically proves to me is that this is all political. They don't actually want answers about January 6th. Yeah. They want to pin it on Trump. They want to pin it on Republicans.
Yeah. It shouldn't be political, though. It's so bad. It should be united.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
But, do you guys think this strategy, they're gonna get back on that horse tomorrow, and it's gonna be wild. They're gonna be saying all sorts of crazy stuff. Do you think this strategy is gonna work on voters? Do you think voters are going to turn against Republicans based on the findings of the January 6th Commission?
Well, I don't know. I just think that it's kind of like a sore battle almost at that point. Like, I don't think people are just going to be like, oh, yeah, that was really bad. I just don't think that. Because at the end of the day, we have to remember in context of January 6th that we witnessed an entire summer of riots across every city in America. Every single city was under fire. And it's like, oh, a brick got thrown through a window. Oh, that happened down the street too at Fred's house. Like, a lot of people saw a lot of bad things go down. And so I just don't think that people are all that surprising. It's not like this thing that happened like out of the woodwork where we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people got violent. It's like, no, people were being violent all summer. I don't don't think it has that same shock value as it would had that summer not been the way it was.
Yeah. I think going off of that, I think the summer is being justified, and January 6th. All right. Yeah, they're justifying the riots in the summer. I was getting confused.
No,
And January 6th is totally reasonable, and it's absurd. Yeah.
No, I mean, we saw, it's crazy what they're trying to pull off with this. And no, I don't think it's going to work whatsoever.
I don't think so, yeah.
I think it's backfiring because exactly what you're saying, everybody remembers what happened in 2020. Nobody's forgotten about that.
Yeah. Because when you say like whatever, we can go back and forth on the moral obvious moral differences, but it's like when you say yes, you can loot and you can riot because you feel justified in your anger, then you're justified to do that.
No,
you can't change the standard then when there's other people who have just as unjustified like anger and responses to their emotions.
They set that precedent. There were prominent people saying that exact thing, that you're justified if the cause is just. So if it's racial justice and you destroy everything, look, I would have rather you not destroyed things, but you know what? You're justified.
That's your right.
That's the oppressed, the oppressed people's acting out. And what they don't realize is that everyone has grievances.
Every single person.
Not all the grievances out there are ones you agree with, Democrats. And when you set the precedent that, you could just destroy things, you can just riot, you can just charge into buildings that you're not supposed to go into, if you don't get your way, or if you don't feel like life is perfect, then...
We normalized the societal temper tantrum. That's what it was. That's what 2020 ultimately did.
Yes, totally. I agree.
Any final thoughts, guys, before we...
No, I think this was a great discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So, guys, look forward to the Democrats' attempts to just destroy Republicans tomorrow, I guess. I don't think it's going to go so well.
Are we still doing capital punishment, selling that? Because
we check out capital punishment. We're going to have some content running on the site tomorrow. We're going to push out a bunch of articles about capital punishment. It's a documentary we've been working with the filmmakers to get it out there to people. So look up Capital Punishment, check it out. It's an amazing film. And thanks for joining us today on WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. If you want to follow us, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/WJ Live. Be sure to hit the bell to receive notifications there. We're also on Rumble now, because believe it or not, Rumble does not hate us for who we are and what we believe. So go check out the Western Journal on Rumble as well. You'll see WJ Live episodes on there. And if you really want to help us out here at the Western Journal, here at WJ Live, make sure to go to westernjournal.com/join. And what that's going to do is going to allow us to subvert kind of all of these big tech companies. We don't have to rely on Facebook. We don't have to rely on Google for their ads. You just, subscribe straight to us. You get the news straight from us. And there's some perks there for you too. So it's, you're not just handing us money. We're giving you some quality things back. So please consider doing that. Consider supporting, journalism that stands against the mainstream, that will not conform no matter what Google, Facebook, and Twitter say, and YouTube also. So thank you so much for joining us again today, guys, and see you on Friday.